Coming up today, it's episode 112 In the Front Row with Mike Vaccaro. We sit down with our third Heisman Trophy winner, Charlie Ward, who is so much more than a Heisman Trophy winner. He won that at Florida State, helped lead the Seminoles to their very first national championship. During the same time, he was playing basketball for the Seminoles as well, excelling on the hardwood. From their decision time, didn't want to play the NFL unless he was a first-round pick. That didn't happen. Instead, a first-round pick in the NBA to the Knicks that led to 12 years in the NBA. Played with the Knicks for 10 of those 12 seasons. Now a head coach at Florida A&M. After previous stops at the high school level as a coach, he's embarking on his first time in college basketball on the Division I level with the Rattlers. We talked to him about his journey from Thomasville, Georgia, and now back to Tallahassee with Florida A&M. It is episode 112 of In the Front Row with Mike Vaccaro, featuring former Heisman Trophy winner Charlie Ward. Coach Ward now is, again, a head coach of Florida A&M, hired in April to take over that program with the Rattlers, and appreciate you joining us here today. What's college basketball coaching life been for you like so far here this year as you're, I'm sure, recruiting and getting ready for the year to come?
It's been slow and steady as far as what we've been looking to do to build the team and put the things that we want, setting the culture with our coaching staff, which I have a very good coaching staff and been meeting over the past month or so to get to the point where we start to have the guys here on campus, which will start on Monday. We'll have a few guys coming in, and then the rest will come in the rest of the week. Then we'll start workouts the following week on the 23rd. So, we're excited about, just seeing, what we have, and we feel good about the guys. And, as I tell our guys, when our coaches, we were all chosen. And when you've been chosen, you have to, work with what you have. Because once they get here, they're here, and we have to navigate our way through. So, it's been good though. Just it's a different space, but a good space.
Yeah, you're coming from the high school ranks, but I know there's a lot of ties to your family and Florida A&M, that athletic department, with your dad playing football there. Your sister went to school there as well. Was that part of the allure of taking that leap and that next step, going from high school to college?
I mean, it was all part of it when it was presented as an opportunity. A few years ago, even before this opportunity, this was one of the places I felt like would be a good fit for me since I was here. And then once my wife and I started the vision, God gave us this vision of building a Champions Ranch here in Tallahassee. And then this opportunity came up. It was just a good fit. So all of the things worked out to where we are today. And, the Champions Ranch is still moving forward because I'm staying here. But I wouldn't plan on leaving Tallahassee no time soon. So that was one of the great blessings that, I get the opportunity to coach in college at a Division I school here in Tallahassee. And it was my parents' alma mater and my sister as well. So I grew up, I've grown up here on campus throughout the years. I used to come to all the FAMU football games, and we came to a few basketball games. And since my sister was here, we used to bring her to school, drop her off, and actually stayed near campus one year during my tenure at TCC at the time. So I've been around it for quite some time.
Yeah, you talk about Tallahassee, obviously Florida State and Tallahassee as well, and that's a big part of your story. As we want to go back to that time as well for you, not just football, not just basketball. I know you also played some baseball as well, but what made Florida State the right choice for you? Because obviously it worked out pretty well for you.
And there were quite a few factors. One being Coach Bowden. During the recruiting process, he was going to allow me to play basketball because he allowed Brad Johnson to go out and play basketball and football. So, that history of him allowing Brad to do that was something that was intriguing, and also, just something I wanted to do. Secondly, he's a man of faith. And so I grew up in that type of environment, throughout my days with my parents, being Christians, and my football coach was a Christian in high school. So just understanding and knowing the type of environment I wanted to be in. So he checked that box, and it was close to where I live. Where I'm from. So Thomasville is about 45 minutes. And that would give me an opportunity for family and friends who had supported me through high school to come and watch me play as well. And so all those were just things that checked the box, and the reason why I chose FSU.
Was it out there? Did you put it out there that you wanted to play both football and basketball? Was that was that deal or nothing?
Yes, people knew that I want to play football and basketball. I just enjoyed it. And, looking back, I was a two-sport guy growing up, more than two sports, but I was going to work to play both sports, and because I just enjoyed it. I really didn't have any parameters around it. It wasn't a deal breaker in a sense, but if I had an option or a choice to be able to do it, then I was going to choose that school. Because University of Georgia was the other school, and, they were saying that they would allow me to play, but they didn't really have any history of allowing guys to do that. So I went with Coach Bowden, and he told me that if I did what I was supposed to do academically, that I would have an opportunity to do it. And he was, he was true to his word.
So how does Charlie Ward, as a true freshman, go from being a punter on the football team to a Heisman Trophy winner? What was that journey like for you?
It was one of, just one, patience, trusting the process, which, during a time when you're going through something like that, you really don't know what you're trusting, and you're hoping, and you're just wishing that things would go according to plan. But when it was all said and done, God had a plan, and I just had to walk it out and go through that whole process, of course, being immature as a true freshman, winning the punting job and not really satisfied because that's what you weren't recruited for. But, my parents raised me to, enjoy the moment, go with the flow, be a great teammate, all those types of things. And so that was part of, the plan I was just fulfilling a role. Didn't understand at the time that would be something that would become part of my DNA, of just doing whatever it took for the team to be successful, or doing your part to be successful, or help the team be successful. And so I just did my part. I probably wasn't the best punter, but I was sufficient in what they asked me to do, or efficient with what they asked me to do, and did my part. But Coach Bowden allowed me to kind of have free reign in the sense of going back and forth between football and basketball the next couple of years, until I started playing, being the number one quarterback. So it was just a great opportunity. And I'm grateful for, him allowing me to do that. Coach Kennedy also allowed me to come out and be a part of the basketball program to see how I can be, make an impact and just those doors were open, and I had to do my part.
Yeah, you had the patience. 1992, you become the starter on the football field. 92, 93, great seasons. Obviously, 93, the Heisman Trophy. But also during that time, really good success for you on the baseball court or the basketball court as well. So that balance, how did you have that balance and not just play both sports, but really play them at a high level?
Well, the year, really the catalyst for all of that, being able to play both sports at a high level, was the year that I was given the opportunity to go out and play basketball full time. That was my second year in college. So I was redshirt in football. I was actually the scout team quarterback for football that year. And I was going to basketball practice after football practice. So I was double dipping throughout that process. But I was full-time basketball. So that gave me an opportunity that was my best year from a statistical standpoint as well. But it also got me an opportunity to get my foot in the door. That year I was a backup, throughout the first part of the year. But the second part of the year, I became a starter. And that was where it kind of ended. And when I became the starter and helped us win the Metro Championship that year, that, like I said, kind of solidified an opportunity for me the years moving forward, that they understood and knew what I brought to the table. So when I came back, I kind of had a spot, whether it was a starting spot or a backup spot. I kind of solidified myself in that position. And so that kind of gave me the opportunity to be able to go back and forth. Because the next year, I actually played football as a scout team guy. And then I went out to basketball, like when we started bowl prep. So played in at the time, I think it was the Big East ACC Challenge that year against Syracuse in Atlanta. So I was back and forth between there and then the bowl prep, and then we were in the Cotton Bowl. And so I left the Cotton Bowl to go to play in a game, flew back to practice at the Cotton Bowl. So it was me back and forth that third year. And then the next year, I was starting quarterback. So all those years, you enjoy the moment. People ask me, how did you do it? When you love something, you don't think about later on the ramifications and what have you. You find a way. Through it all, I had to make sure my academics were in order and those types of things. And, as long as that wasn't, drifting off, I was able to, make it happen. So just grateful for everyone supporting me through the journey, because that is what I wanted to do. And that's kind of, what college is about, or just in general, being a part of a team, people supporting your goals and dreams. And, after all of that, I was able to graduate as well.
In 93, can you have envisioned that year going the way it did? You guys, winning a national championship, you winning the Heisman Trophy award, one of the biggest margins of victory over Heath Schuler, almost 1,600 plus votes, that you were almost a unanimous winner of that award. Did you think 1993 was going to be that kind of season for you, for the team as well?
I mean, everyone dreams of those types of years, and you put it out there, and you just have to make it go happen. I was blessed to be on a very good team. The year before, a very similar type team. We just one game we lost that we weren't able to recover from, but we had some great momentum going into that senior year, and it started out well. And like I say, like we all have these goals and big dreams of all the things that actually happen. And when you're going through it, you have to continue to put yourself in the situations to where you can accomplish those goals. And so we competed well in practice, had good teammates, good team. And each and every Saturday we played, we had to go out and prove it, prove ourselves. We had one hiccup later in the season against Notre Dame, but, we were afforded the opportunity to be able to rewrite that by, going out and playing good quality football the next couple of weeks, mainly, in the swamp. The last game of the regular season, we had an opportunity to redeem ourselves and showcase what we were capable of being, since we were the number one team for most of that year. We just had one slip up on the road in a tough environment at Notre Dame. And we were able to get the victory against Florida, which gave us an opportunity to play in the national championship, and it was against Nebraska. And so, it was just one of those years where you hope all things go well, and we had been in that boat where we had lost a game and it kicked us out of the championship. This year, we were able to, navigate our way through, with Notre Dame losing the following week to Boston College. And, God was definitely looking out for us when it came to us being able to have another chance. And then when we played against Nebraska, everyone thought it was going to be an easy road for us because the year before we played them, and the game was, like we won 27-14, and, we beat them. It was pretty handy, it wasn't close. But people thought that we would run away with the game. That's outside people. For us, we know it's going to be tough. Championship game, two quality teams. Their defense was really, really good. Our defense was really, really good. And so it came down to, those two teams, defenses, battling it out, to see who can, hold each other's offense under wraps and in check. And, we only scored one touchdown in that whole game. And we were able to overcome it, because we had the ball last in a sense. We were able to kick the game-winning field goal, even though they had a chance to kick a game-winning field goal to win it as well. But for us, we were just grateful that they missed it. And it was Coach Bowden's first national championship and FSU's first national championship in football.
Yeah, does that mean a little bit more to you? Not just the first national championship, as you said, for Coach Bowden, and then the first Heisman Trophy winner in school history as well. When you look at it being the first, is that a point of pride for you?
I guess so, yes. You're kind of leading the pack. That's kind of what people like to like. But if I was second, it wouldn't take away the award or opportunity. Either way. So, being the first always gives you good bragging rights, I guess, in a sense. You have the first birthright, as they call it.
We had Eddie George on here previously, another Heisman Trophy winner, and he said, even though he's done some acting and different things, that speech in front of the other winners when you win the Heisman Trophy was the most terrifying moment for him. What was that like for you?
I would say terrified. It was more, I guess, satisfying all because a lot of guys that were there were like guys that I watched growing up. So just being able to meet them. But, at that time, I wasn't a public speaker. I wasn't any of those types of things. I did a lot of interviews, but and I had done some speeches beforehand. But, I guess it was different because it was the Heisman. And I still sit and think like, man, because growing up, those are things that you dream of, but to actually be in that position and have that opportunity as to be one of the best players in the country, it's just something you never think would ever happen. But it did happen, and grateful, for it because, from Thomasville, Georgia, smaller town, but here in New York, it was just a moment that, you always look back and cherish. But when you talk about being nervous and those types of things, I mean, that goes with the territory in a sense. But I was just grateful.
Well, grateful again for an outstanding football career, outstanding as well in basketball. And again, it came time to decide, I guess, for you. Take us through the draft and what you were telling the NFL teams and what you were thinking as far as the NBA and what your options were going to be after college.
Well, I had to make a decision on whether I was going to give up my senior year of basketball to pursue the NFL career, which would have knocked out the opportunity for me to be in the NBA as an option as well. So I chose to be a senior leader on my basketball team, which gave me an opportunity to have an option for the NBA because it gave me another data point in a sense. But my reasoning for playing my senior year was because I wanted to be a senior leader. I mean, I've been there for 3 years, and it was my 4th year, and I wanted to finish out very similar to how I did in football. And my heart was in the right place, and I knew that playing my senior year would potentially forego my opportunity to be in the NFL because I was going to end up missing the combine and those types of things. And so I knew that, and it was a risk, and I was willing to take the risk. But then I doubled down on top of that afterwards and said that if I didn't get drafted in the first round, that I would be considering my other options. And that was like death in a sense for my NFL career, which, I talk a lot about, when we make the choices and decisions in life, we have to be willing to live with the consequences. And so I was willing to live the consequence of not being drafted in the NFL if that's what it was. I did get one call from the Kansas City Chiefs to see if I wanted to be the backup for Joe Montana, which was very enticing because Joe Montana was one of my heroes growing up. But I told him that I couldn't guarantee that I would come to camp because if I got drafted in the first round of the NBA, then, I would be going there. But at that time, I had no clue that I would be a first-round pick in the NBA. But it was all, walking by faith and trusting, my abilities and the work that I was willing to put in. And that's kind of how it all jumped off. I didn't get drafted in NFL. Then I put in more work to prepare for the NBA combines. And my major goal there was just to play even with those guys that have been playing basketball all of their careers or lives. And I was able to accomplish that. I was on 2 good teams during my combine in Phoenix at the time, and then Chicago. I was on two teams that played very similar, like no one was out there for themselves, and actually the team played well together. And so that, gave us all great favor. And then I had some good workouts for individual teams and played against guys like Penny Hardaway, which, I did the best I could. I held my own. I mean, he's a big guy, and but Orlando was going to pick me in the first round. That was like their deal. But New York chose me the pick before. But the crazy part about all that was when I got drafted by the Knicks 6 months before that, when I was leaving the Heisman to come back to Tallahassee and come back home, I said, man, I'll never be able to live in New York. Well, don't say what you never will do, because God will put you where you say you never will be. So he put me there with a job, and I had to figure it out and navigate my way through, which I was able to do. And we were there for almost 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years. As you said, you did get drafted first round, 26th overall. This was in 1994. 10 years there until 2004. I guess, Pat Riley was the coach when you were drafted, but it seemed like once he left and Jeff Van Gundy took over, that's when your career started to soar. Is that kind of aligned? Is that the way you see it as well, that maybe Jeff knew how to use you or utilize you better than maybe Pat Riley did?
Well, my situation with the Knicks was I wasn't going to play as a rookie. There are veteran guys in front of me. As much as I would like to play and wanted to play, and I worked to play, Coach Van Gundy was my skill development coach. He was an assistant at the time. He's my skill development coach. I had Derek Harper there, Greg Anthony, Doc Rivers. So there were some guys in front of me. Doc ended up getting traded that year. And so, but I got an opportunity to play with him early on, be in the same room with him early on. But I knew I wasn't going to play because I had two other guys in front of me that were veteran guys. And we had just, played in the finals, the NBA finals the year before. And so I had to swallow my pride, because I went from winning a Heisman to, winning a national championship to being the low man of the totem pole, which, when it was all said and done, helped me to be grounded in a lot of ways. Just understanding that you have to take things as they are, and you're not going to always be on top. And you have to continue to work for what you want. And so I wasn't going to play my rookie year, just unless there's just some major injuries. So I had an opportunity to play like 44 minutes, which is not even a full game in the year. But I continue to work. Coach Van Gundy, new coach comes in, Coach Don Nelson comes in, and he wants to bring in another backup, and he wanted to change the whole system. And I got pushed out. As a second-year guy, I got pushed out. Gary Grant was his guy that he wanted to bring in. He felt like he was better. So I was the third point guard behind Derek Harper and Gary Grant. And so I had to sit there and continue to work, put my time in. I wasn't going to play, even though I wanted to play, and I thought I was prepared and ready to take that next step. But God opened the door where, things didn't work out the first part of the year, and during the All-Star break, they let Coach Nelson go. Once that happened, they gave the job to Coach Van Gundy. And when Coach Van Gundy took over, he gave me an opportunity to be the backup point guard, and I took advantage of it. And so for my second year on throughout, I was a contributor to the success of the team, and we got an opportunity to play in the NBA Finals in 1999. And that was, throughout those years are always great years in with the Knicks.
Yeah, not the easiest media market to be in, and certainly that franchise as well. What was it like for you to, again, earn your spot, earn your time? You became the starter in the 97-98 season. You mentioned 99, losing to San Antonio in the finals. But did that endear you the way you were able to earn that job? Did that endear you to the Knicks fans?
That, along with the way I played, because I wasn't the superstar, but I was the guy that always dove on the floor. I was the guy that took charges. I was the guy that, hit shots when we needed them. I was in the community. I was easygoing, easy to rally, kind of rally around in a sense because of just personality. I wasn't flamboyant, those types of things. So people kind of just saw me as that person. And so just being able to fit in, I wasn't the tallest guy. I was always the shortest guy in the group. And people just saw me as an underdog, in a sense. And my story was just different. Being a Heisman Trophy winner in New York, people saw me different in that sense as well. So just want to be a guy that could be easy to root for. Like I said, I wasn't flamboyant or any of those types of things. I was just simple guy.
In the end, 12 years in the NBA, do you find yourself, are you watching the NBA more than the NFL or college football, or are you a fan of everything right now?
No, I watch sports. So, we watch softball. We'll potentially watch baseball if it's on, especially we have people that we know that's there. College baseball. Major League is normally we watch in the during the playoffs. But we just watch golf, whatever it is. So we watch sports. We're a sports family.
And again, now a head coach at Florida A&M, basketball coach. Who do you look to? What's your coaching style like? Because, again, you came from both football and basketball. Do you have a combination of coaches that you've had that you represent as a head coach now yourself?
Yes, all of the above. So I've taken, bits and pieces of all of my coaching experiences from the coaches that I've coached, I played for, and, coached with, and I've kind of put them all in a bucket. And I've had great coaches, from high school all the way to professional ranks. And, even, during my high school days, being able to be a part of the USA Football Network and USA Basketball Junior National Team Network, and being able to glean from, all the different coaches that I've been able to come in contact with from a football standpoint and basketball standpoint. I've been through, I've seen and talked to a lot of coaches just from networking and been able to have, a lot of my coaches on speed dial. If I have questions about something or to ask what's going on outside of, where I am, what's going on in the NBA, what's going on in college, where they're teaching and those types of things, I can do that because of just the relationships that I've been able to build over the years. And that's something that, I take advantage of. And people ask me questions, and I ask them questions as well because, everyone's trying to grow and learn. And I think that's helpful. But you want to be that guy that, people don't mind picking up the phone, when you call. So I'm just grateful that I have those type of experiences and relationships.
And again, I know at one point in high school as a coach, you did football. You were a head coach for football and then, basketball as well. Are you all in right now with basketball? Do you think this is who Charlie Ward is, a basketball coach here now and into the future?
Yes, I'm basketball through and through. I stuck with football for, 9 years. The reason I started with football for those 9 years was because the first 5 years I started to figure it out, and I wanted to continue because I had put so much time and energy in building a network through the football network, and I didn't want to just give that up because I spent a lot of time and I invested a lot of time and energy and resources into that. And so I went 4 more years for that. And when it was time for me to move on to my next opportunity in coaching, 2 basketball jobs came up. One out of the blue. I wasn't expecting it, and they reached out to me. And then the other one was one that was shared with me, and I was thinking somebody else would be better for the job until I felt like I may be okay with doing it. And that's where I ended up making a transition from football to basketball as a coach. And for the past 7 years, I've been coaching basketball, and I've enjoyed that experience. Being able to coach the young men and being in an environment and a culture where administration supported what we were wanting to do, along with the parents, and those are just great experiences that I've been able to glean from. And now coaching college, I mean, I've hit all the spots. I've hit the professional ranks, I've hit the high school ranks, and now, I've hit college ranks. And if nothing else, we'll find a way to win. Regardless of what the outcome looks like, we'll find a way to win.
Will you go to the football team to try to find some players there? Do you try to see a quarterback that maybe is like a Charlie Ward and try to bring him to the basketball side of things?
I was thinking about that, like the two-way guys and, what have you. If that's an opportunity that arises at some point, I mean, it's something we can look at. But as of now, no, we would like for guys who may play multiple sports to play basketball, but, that's a special case. For sure.
Tell me a little bit more about what you and your wife are doing in the community and ways maybe that people watching this can get involved and help out.
Well, the Ward Foundation is wardfoundation.org is the website that you can go to. There's also a championsranch.org is our vehicle for our mission for the family foundation. We're building a youth and family sports education and wellness campus here as a collective collaboration impact model, which means we're bringing other nonprofits and even for-profits for programs and services so that we can have wraparound services for the community. And so that's our mission and goal, which is to, bring people together so that we can have a collective impact on our community, our region, even nation. And so it's, things are going well. We have 112 acres on the south side of Tallahassee. And, our foundation, that's the Champions Ranch. But our foundation, we actually have our mentor leadership clinic that we're doing tomorrow. We normally do it on Father's Day. That's one of our staples that we've been able to build over the years. The Florida Lottery, Bright Futures Scholarship Program. They support. We partner with one of my former FSU alums, Corey Simon, his Big Ben Pop Warner. So we help support the young men and women with cleats and cheer shoes throughout the Big Ben Pop Warner. So we collect shoes for them to be able to give to those young people so they can what we found was sometimes they don't have the necessary footwear so they can be as effective as possible. And so we do that. We have a holiday clinic that we are doing in Thomasville, and we started a championship breakfast to help bring awareness, one, to the Champions Ranch, and this year to be more of a fundraiser. And we've been blessed to be able to have Jack and Jonah Kersey. We do like a chalk talk. It's called Charlie's Chalk Talk. But actually, I'll be doing it this year with my daughter, Hope, who just graduated from TCU. And so she'll be my co-anchor, co-host, or whatever you want to call us, interviewing Jack and Jonah Kersey this year. And that's August 29th that we're doing it. It's a brunch. And so it'll be our championship breakfast. We'll be also honoring Coach Leonard Hamilton and his wife, Miss Claudette, with the Distinguished Award as well. And so it's, things are working out, but our foundation is, we're all about youth character development, developing, youth character development through sports, arts, education, and wellness. And that's, as I talked about, the Champions Ranch would be our vehicle to be able to help support, our mission.
And why is it important for you? I mean, again, you're such a big figure in Tallahassee and elsewhere in that area, but why is it important for you to utilize your platform and help out like this?
Well, I was just speaking to the Jim Moran Institute yesterday, and, one of the things that, when you're part of a team or you're part of something, everyone has a role. And I've been blessed to be able to have great influence because of the platform, because of all the different experiences. And, I've had to accept that that's my role for, being on the team. And so being able to give back and make an impact, we've heard from numerous people about the impact that we've been able to make over the years on their lives through our programming. And the reason we do it is because somebody did it for us. I mean, if someone has helped you get to where you are, or where you're currently, slotted and you're staying and where you are, you want to be able to help someone else. And so that is, as I talked about our win, we want to win. The W stands for why. We always have to understand and remember our why. Our why drives our purpose. And when we think of our purpose of why God has placed us here on earth is to be able to help others and be servant leaders. And so we also want to make sure our integrity is in order as well, to be able to, help others understand what integrity looks like by the way we live our lives. And then, the N stands for never giving up. So we want to give people that hope that regardless of what situations look like, we got to trust and know that God has a plan for us. And there will be detours in our lives, but we never can give up on the goals and the dreams that we've set for ourselves. And it may take 10 years to get there or longer, but if we can continue to put, small steps together, then we can make it happen. So that is the reason why we do what we do.
Well, Florida A&M's got a good leader of their men's basketball program. Coach Ward, I appreciate you joining us here today. Best of luck with your family foundation, and certainly as you navigate college athletics, which is a little bit different than when you were playing back in your days, but certainly excited to see you begin your college coaching career, be following you in the Rattlers this season. But thank you for your time here today as well, and wish you the best of luck this season.
I appreciate you putting me in the front row.
One other great guest, a unique guest as well, the only Heisman Trophy winner to play in the NBA. That is Charlie Ward, now the head coach at Florida A&M with the Rattlers in the Division I level. And our special thanks today for helping arrange that sit-down, Michelle Mays, for helping do that today. As always, we thank you for watching and listening and invite you to like, to subscribe, and to share our podcast. More great guests. Again, we've had now 3 Heisman Trophy winners, a number of Hall of Famers, great guests still to come, and we need your help to get there. Please subscribe and please share our show. For JR Quitman, our creator, producer, and director behind the scenes, I'm Mike Vaccaro. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Another episode of In the Front Row with Mike Vaccaro. Have a great day, everybody.